I'm here with Gord Solnensky from Aquascape. Hi, Gord.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, we've got a homeowner that sort of wanted the sights and sounds of a pond, but was a little concerned about the fact that it was going to be out near the road and maintenance issues. Have you got a suggestion for them?
We sure do. We've got a Pondless Waterfall, and that's what we're going to put in here. And it's going to give you the sight and sound of a waterfall in a stream without the actual body of water at the end.
Okay. So does it just sort of flow down into a rock basin? Is that
Yeah, there'll be a basin of rock at the end that the water will disappear into, and that'll work as our reservoir.
Okay. So what about maintenance for these? It doesn't have this big pond at the bottom. Is it easier to maintain?
There's literally no maintenance. It's just topping up from time to time because you will lose a little bit of water to evaporation, but without the fish and the plants, there's literally no maintenance at all.
Okay. So what's the idea? We've got a bit of a flower bed here. How is it going to be set up?
Yeah, we're going to remove a few of the plants at the back here. We're going to take some of the larger rock, and then we're going to build up a bit of a retaining wall to give us some height.
Okay.
And then what we're going to do is it's going to flow down from there, and it's going to come into a little bit of a stream, and then we're going to end up with a basin down at the bottom.
And we can plant around that afterwards, so we could actually move some of these plants and stick them in around the outside.
Yeah, we can plant all around it with the terrestrial plants, and we should be able to put a few water plants in there as well.
Perfect. Well, let's go for it.
Sounds good.
Now, Gord, I can't believe you accomplished all this in one day.
Yeah, it looks like quite a bit of work, but with the kit and a few well laid out steps, we were able to get it done. Two guys that knew what they were doing were able to get it done in a day.
Yeah, exactly. It really is miraculous. Now, when we were here earlier on this morning, we were looking at sort of how we were going to plan it out. What was the next step after that?
Yeah, once we determined our site selection, basically we wanted to lay things out and figure out where our basin was going to lie and where our biofalls was going to sit. So once we had that situated, we hooked up the hose, ran it down, and then marked out a basin about 4 by 6, about 2 feet deep at the bottom, and we started digging. Okay.
So now, do you have to worry about things like gas lines, power lines? Like, are you digging down that deep?
You should, yeah. We're going down a couple feet, so you should always call before you dig, check into the gas lines, electrical lines, water lines, sewage, all that kind of stuff. Better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you've dug out the basin. And we've got what did you call that, the top piece?
Biofalls.
The biofall. So it's basically a tube that comes up and it pumps the water up?
Yeah, in a pond situation, it works as a biological filter. In this situation, it's working mostly just as a start to our waterfall.
Okay, so the fountain head is...
More or less, yeah.
Okay, so it comes from there. So you set that first. I imagine it's important to get it level. And
we do want it level, yeah, side to side with a slight slope forward. Or else the water's going to be spilling out of one side or the other, so that is important. And then the soil that we excavate from the basin down here, we use the backfill around the biofalls, holding it in place.
Now, I did notice one of the guys using a trick. He was filling it full of rocks when he was leveling it. Is that just...
Yeah, just to hold it in place. Actually, with bigger units, we'll actually throw a person right in there.
Oh, really?
But yeah, in this case, it's just rock, so that it doesn't move as we're backfilling.
Oh, okay, perfect. Obviously, when you get it all level, you don't want it moving around.
That's right.
So after you've got that in place, what's the next step?
Well, once the basin is dug, then we want to line it. But we always use a geotextile first, an underlayment. Okay. And then we put our pond liner on top of that.
Okay. Now, I often hear people say, well, I don't need that geotextile. I can use carpet or newspaper. Is there a problem with that? Or
the carpet and the newspaper does tend to rot and break down over time, which can cause an issue. The geotextile is a good barrier for roots and sharp rocks, but it also wicks away ground moisture and gases.
Oh, okay. Perfect. So now we've laid the liner in. Now, this is a fairly long waterfall. Is this a standard, or is all the liner going to be in the kit, or do you have to add extra liner if you want to make it longer?
We did add a small piece to this, yeah. Standard in the kit will give you a slightly shorter run, but what we did is we added about a 10 by 10 piece of liner.
Okay, all right.
Actually, probably even a little bit less. But
now, it looks like you guys have got steps there. Do you actually have to cut steps in the soil to make it look like that?
Yeah, the material that comes out of the basin is all just thrown up and around the biofalls here, and it's just a big mound in front.
Okay.
And then what we do is once the liner is laid, we fold it forward, and you can actually go in and cut in different shelves and steps and turn it how you want it to look.
Okay. And you don't cut any of the liner yet. You just leave the whole thing in place.
That's right.
Okay, perfect. So then I guess it's just placing the rocks right on top of the liner?
Well, snorkel and centipede first. Those are the two kind of key ingredients in the kit that make the Pondless waterfall. So we put them down at the bottom first.
Okay.
And then we begin to backfill larger rock first, and then work our way up to the smaller rock.
Now, we've got the snorkel and the centipede hidden underneath these rocks here, but basically it's a big water reservoir so that the pump can be easily removed, I take it.
Right. You do want to have access because we do need to get down there for some reason. You don't want to have to dig out, 2 tons of rock. So you just pop the lid off and you get access to the pump. So I'll show you a quick release.
Oh, okay. So you can take it out at winter or whatever.
That's right.
Okay, perfect. So then we start setting the rocks in place.
Yeah.
And then I noticed, like, these rocks obviously look like they've been here forever. Are you putting smaller gravel, and how do you get the little gravel to stay in place?
Well, we do try and create a bit of a mix so that it does look fairly natural. And we try and use more or less all the same rock for the larger pieces, and then some smaller river rock and some bird's eye or pea gravel on top of that. As far as getting things to stick, it mostly just stays in place on its own, but we do use a waterfall foam to seal in between and behind some of the rocks to force the water to flow over the surface.
Okay, so you actually just fill it in between the cracks of the rock?
Yeah, it's fairly important because what will happen if you don't use that is you'll turn the water on and all the water will flow underneath the rock and you won't see it. So you do want to force it up over the surface. So you foam in behind all that and then cover it back up with rock.
Fill it back up?
Yeah.
All right. Now, this pond has been running pretty well all day. Well, not quite all day, but for a while. Now, it is a little murky. You know, when someone has a pond like this, I guess any new pond, and they turn it on and it's murky, is that something to be concerned about?
No, not at all. It will take a little bit of time to settle out. Typically about 24 hours, it should start to run clean. It just depends on the rock. The rock we used was quite dirty. So the dirtier the rock, a little bit longer it's going to take to settle out.
Okay. Now, what about maintenance with these ponds? Is there anything I'm going to have to worry about, you know, cleaning or trying to take care of it?
You shouldn't have to do anything other than top it up from time to time with water. You will lose a little bit to evaporation, especially if it's in a windy location.
Okay.
But other than that, should be literally no maintenance.
Okay. Now, winter time, is that a time when I'm going to have to pull out the pump or drain it or whatever I want to do?
Depending on where you are, you shouldn't really have to at all ever. As long as the water's moving, it shouldn't freeze solid. But if you want to, if you're in a cold climate, you certainly can disconnect the pump. It's real easy to do. Pop it in the garage for the winter.
Stick it in the garage and then I don't have to worry about it. Now, with plantings like this, I guess it's just my imagination, whatever I want to do. We've got almost a little bog area.
Yeah.
So we could plant that as a bog
You can put some marginal type stuff down there. You could even put some hyacinths up in the bioflowers if you want to.
And you're set.
And you're set.
Well, you've made it look really easy. I'm still amazed that you've accomplished this all in one day. Thanks, Gord.
No problem. Thank you.